we're moving on over to player cards here for our first match.
Yeah. So first up, we're showing what is it? Rudolph's player card, right?
We have Leanin.
Leonid first. So Leonid was our final qualifier here, coming in at eighth place, earning 20 points over the course of the bracket, or all of the events. Best placement, a third place in Death's Doorstep, which is our Swiss event, which is a really hard event to kind of place high in. And exciting to see that they're also a Windjammers player.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have a lot of players from Latin America who are like Neo Geo fiends. So seeing them on Windjammers or Money Puzzle Exchanger, I think will show up a couple of times here.
I do certainly appreciate the extra mile to represent like other games they tend to main as a variety scene ourselves. So just
For sure.
small shout out.
And then I think maybe Deca can run you through the counter picks on this as well,
Oop.
really quickly.
Yeah, so Leonid is a big fan of the like upper mid tiers to lower high tiers. He really likes Death and Emperor, World, and Strength, who is the strongest non-hidden character. Um, they're characters that, while going to quota is unlikely, or while going to quota is possible, it's rather unlikely, and pressure is still very strong. But the patterns aren't ridiculous, so they're still manageable if you really know what you're doing.
So let's flip over to Rudolph. I know they're kind of chomping at the bit to get started in Fightcade. I think the nerves are kind of taking over some of our players here.
Mm,
They want to get their matches out of the way.
too
Um,
bad.
so Leonid is our number one seed, or sorry, Rudolph is our number one seed in this event. Has won more magical drop tournaments than I could probably count on two hands, and is one of our two invited players. So they didn't need to go through the gauntlet of qualifying. Both Rudolph and Wanpa, who we'll see later, were invited here to join us just based on the strength of their previous tournament victories. So, Deca, you want to run us through those counter picks again?
All right, so Rudolph is more of a high tier player. They're a big fan of High Priestess and Death, who are upper mid tiers, as Leonid liked, but Rudolph will also often pick characters like Tower and Wheel of Fortune, who are just have absolutely killer patterns that are brutal to try to survive against if you're not an expert at managing and very fast moving around the board.
Yeah, you'll also see Rudolph. He calls High Priestess his ace, and I don't know the last time that I have seen him drop a game on High Priestess in tournament. So High Priest is probably who you see him always kind of bounce to first if he does drop a game. But the fact dropping even a single game is rare for Rudolph. So, um, if the High Priestess comes out, you know that he's kind of up against the wall there and wants to make sure that he's feeling comfortable going into the rest of the set.
I had no idea he was a Puyo player.
Yeah, neither did I, honestly. I knew he played a lot of Neo Bomberman, but no Puyo.
All right.
Uh, so I'm going to tell Masa Queen that we're good to go,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll let them get into the match in a moment.
Rudolph is the man.
Very much so. Supremely been carrying the Western and really the online push for competitive magical drop for the better part of like a year and a half now.
I think, yeah, it's like almost a year and a half at this point.
Well, actually, yes, that's actually to a T because he did a year of Death's Doorstops, which has been his Swiss bracket for Magical Drop 3 before um, putting forth this half-year long effort that is Majidoro Masters. So everyone should absolutely give him a hand. None of us would be here if it weren't for him championing this game and the scene so hard.
Yeah, he almost molded this scene from scratch himself, which is very impressive. Assembling, like, I mean, we got 63, I think it was, unique entrants,
Yeah,
which is pretty impressive for a scene that was, when we were first entering, had 8 or 9 man brackets.
you got to start somewhere, man.
Yeah.
As for how he is placed over the past half year, He is fourth in overall seedings with 47 points. Took first at Genesis over in California. Second in Puzzle Wednesday number 3, which we don't get all the top players entering those, but that's absolutely nothing to sneeze at. Most because I think we've had Rudolph and a handful of those, so yeah.
Yeah.
In some cases, like, you know, top 3 is absolutely making it. And third in Death's Doorstop number 2. Uh, I still am not necessarily as granularly informed with counterpicks, so I'm going to pivot to his other games, which our boy very much notably is part of a mahjong club up in New York, and it's been a number of times like, "Hey man, play money with us." Like, nah, I got to do mahjong, which understandable. And Magic the Gathering, which is probably why he's championed Swiss as a format for the game for so long, and I can't blame it. In an online setting, it's good to guarantee that people get guaranteed more games against people they're probably in a similar skill range to really, you know, get the hook.
Yeah, the biggest drawback of most in-person events is limited setups, and that's why you have like a first to one or a single elimination or double elimination
Yeah.
bracket. But online, where there's basically unlimited setups as long as you can connect to your opponent and you don't plan on streaming every match, there's nothing preventing people from playing Swiss, which is like you get to play 5 or 6 matches instead of maybe two,
Mm-hmm.
and as you play, your matches will get closer and closer to your skill level, so it's really fun.
So, break down how this man plays the video game.
So Burdup's favorite character is Death, but he will
Hmm.
probably not pick Death, unfortunately, because he is cursed to always lose when he picks Death.
Hmm.
Um, he tends to be a low tier character player, or a low to low mid tier character player. He is a big fan of all of the characters who have the single spire in the middle of their board, and you race to quota. Sun is probably his strongest counter pick and will probably be his first to fall back to. And it's a good counter pick to have because there are 3 or 4 characters who share almost the exact same pattern as Sun. He's also notably very good on Magician and Hierophant, who have the same pattern. And since that is the starting character, um, he usually gets to start matches off on a strong foot.
All right. All right.
If he wins on Magician, him counterpicking to Hierophant is very high, very likely.
Okay. So, what can you tell me about Churzo?
Scherzo is interesting. He kind of came out of like we'd known he was a good player because you'd see him in the lobby and you play him every once in a while, but he didn't really enter any of our events. Maybe because of time conflict or something. But once the Majidoro Masters series started, he started entering more of the events, and it was really interesting because he has um, some interesting tech that he does that nobody else does, which is an ice all clear trick, where if you juggle an ice orb over a match in a certain way, you can trigger a glitch that clears every orb on your board. And on some characters, especially the high tier characters that he likes to play, that can save you from defeat, or it can give you a really good quota lead because a lot of the high tier characters he likes have really awkward patterns. So they're not necessarily high tier just because their pattern is shaped in like a really strong way, but their orbs that are the colors are arranged in a way that it's hard to clear them quickly. Like World has a really shanky um, diagonal color pattern, and so even if you're good at surviving on World, um, clearing to quota quickly is difficult. It's a real grind fest because you have to make all of your matches to quota like 3, 4, 5 orbs at a time. But if you can do like a full board clear uh, in the 6 or 7 chain that the glitch causes, you'll immediately get a big lead.
All right. Well, I think with that, we can go ahead and progress into next match. Let's go ahead and get that call going.
Oh, his other games being Third Strike, which is a very respectable fighting game pick, and Mario Party is endlessly amusing.
Yeah,
I highly respect the Mario Party pick
these
as
things
a
are the
favorite
same
game.
Yeah, they're all fighting games, right? So
entirely.
Yes.
I'm glad someone gets it.
I believe he's also he didn't list it, but I believe he's also B rated in Windjammers. So he's also a very respectable Windjammers player.
I feel like that's secretly half of top 8.
Yeah, the Brazilian and Argentinian players typically have a very large catalog of Neo Geo games that they're good at. They're very popular down there.
Looks like they had disconnection, so they're gonna have to retry really quick. Fightcade's gonna be Fightcade no matter how high stakes we are sometimes.
That is the one downside to an online event, is sometimes the connections are just finicky.
Well, this is working out. Speaking of stakes, Deca, do you want to plug the? If you guys have been here on Puzzle Wednesday before, you know that we have a long legacy with Money Puzzle Exchanger. When we first started doing online for it, there was not even like regularly 2 people in that server. We have done 14 plus tournaments for the game. It is in good health. There are people that are super excited, and it's still one of our most brackets every couple of months. So we had a long legacy, like a couple of people, like a small pool, 4 to maybe 6 people competed for the top 4 spots there. And then Butts shows up one day. It's like, wow, you guys are doing Money Puzzle? That's really cool. I love this game. I've always wanted to take part in tournaments for it. And he proceeds to absolutely clean house. Has not so much as lost a full set in the entirety of his tenure on Puzzle Wednesday Money Puzzle Exchanger brackets. It's that impressive. And then from there, we've been running a little bit of Magical Drop. He was like, wow, these games are very similar. I could probably play this. And, he goes from not having played it to being one of our top 8. So I don't really know if I can truly add any more flavor to that. The punch is already there.
Yeah, the first tournament he showed up to, it was hilarious seeing him pop into the lobby with the little question mark next to his rank, and then at the end of the bracket he was a B.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, over the scheme of the past few months, he has ended up in 7th seed with 21 points, netting 2nd at both Death's Doorstep number 2 and Puzzle Wednesday number 2, as well as a 7th in Death's Doorstep number 1, which I believe was his introduction to Magical Drop, if not the first Puzzle Wednesday one. So the shot up in ranking there from one Death's Doorstep to the next is it's pretty significant.
Yeah. He's going on to his counter picks. Butts is a dedicated high tier player. he picks Tower, Father Strength, Hermit. These are characters with the absolute most difficult patterns in the game to deal with, and they really play into his high speed mobility and his ability to his experience handling characters like Macker and Might Dealer in Money Exchanger, where shuffling around orbs mid combo is the key to surviving on these characters. And if you can do it in Money Exchanger, where the window is so much smaller, you can definitely do it in Magical Drop, where floating orbs greatly extend the amount of time you have. But that isn't to say it takes a lot of skill to do. It's very difficult, and he's very good at it.
I just I have to say I absolutely respect a player whose main purpose in playing is to make his opponents bleed.
Yeah. It's also very funny looking at his card and seeing other games Magical Drop, or other games Money Exchanger,
I mean,
because it feels backwards.
you know, look, we're here for a specific reason today, and it's Magical Drop. And today, he is a Magical Drop player. Anyway, he's up against one hell of an opponent, though, to be quite honest. I believe he's up against Wampa, yes?
Yep. Wampa is our Wampa and Rudolph are like they're pretty much the uncontested one and two of our community. I believe Rudolph has won a few more of the brackets than Juanpa has. That's why Juanpa is second seed. But for almost the entire 18-month span that I've been a part of this community, they've been pretty much untouchable. Until just recently, there were a couple of events that they've seen defeats.
Look, there's nothing more exciting for a, like, worldwide top 8 to know that your untouchable final bosses before can, like, show cracks in their armor that they too can bleed. Also, full stop, I love that the submitted other games are online poker and chess.com.
Yeah, when Burdip was previewing the cards to us, or to me and Xerxian, who couldn't make it, uh, just the dichotomy of pretty much everybody has like Neo Geo games or other game like just fun seeming games in their other games. Juanpa just drops in with chess and poker, and it's just such a stark contrast to everybody else.
So how does he play?
Juanpa is a kind of like a mid to upper mid tier character player. He is very, if I remember correctly, he's just very fast. His movement is just incredibly quick. Uh, I'm pretty sure I had it straight, but Rudolph is more of like a smart player. His he goes a little bit more for efficiency and clears. Juanpa is just high APM. He just zips around the board and clears very quickly, and it works because he's very fast and very. Not to say he isn't efficient, but he's also very fast.
All right. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and queue up the match.
Yeah. One thing I will say is, despite Butts being the seventh seed, because he came into he kind of got a little bit of a later start and couldn't make it to as many of the brackets as many of the other players. I think his seventh seed is a bit of an undersell of how good he's gotten at this game in the past 5 or 6 months. He definitely has the capability to win this, despite Juanpa being such a titan.
Look, I laid my stakes out at the beginning of the tournament. All my money's on Butts. I want to see him just eradicate.
Templanza is a long-standing player of Magical Drop,
Mm-hmm.
but until Majidoro Masters, didn't really enter any of the brackets. Um, they were kind of just they kind of had some sort of they didn't feel confident entering brackets or something, and so they just hang out in the lobbies pretty much all the time. You could match with them whenever you wanted, uh, and then once Magidora Masters started, they started entering brackets and terrorizing the brackets because Templaza is very good at the game. Um, they have an interesting mix of like very low tiers, like Judgment and Temperance, who is his namesake, and the high tiers. They are also a fan of Tower and Fortune, who have that tendency to be snowbally if you can get a start with a rainbow orb in them.
Yeah. Speaking of like stepping up from not playing competitively or not necessarily competitively, not in tournaments, they are seeded third with 59 points, the highest seed for a non-invitee.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Templanza was the first person to take a game off of um, Juanpa or Rudolph in bracket. I would have to double check that though.
It seems likely, but
If
we
it
will
wasn't
confirm for
them, it
lore
was
someday.
Scherzo.
Yeah. But they came in first in Death's Doorstop number 2, second in Death's Doorstop number 1, and second in Death's Doorstop number 3. And they rep such fantastic games as the next glory, Super Mario World, and I'm gonna throw my last Sam Panic Bomber is fantastic. And if any of you are on the fence or have not even heard of it, play Panic Bomber. It's a good game. It's a very good game. And we're gonna pivot over now to Lamlol. This is another person that we've met through our Puzzle Wednesday journeys for way back in the early online days. They are currently 6th seed with 22 points. Won first in the Ballier Challenge EU number 1, second in the second of that tournament series, and third in Doorstop number 3, which is, you know, I love to see patterns. Um, but Lamblol was a person that we met through Money Puzzle Exchanger first, and before there was Butts, there was Lamblol. He was on board right around one of the first or second Money Puzzle turns that we did, and he was part of what Xerxian very much had coined. Or
The
if he
Dream
did,
Team.
I was gonna say if he didn't coin, he very much insists the Dream Team, which was the consistent top four who were just like Wampa and Rudolph, very much in a tier of their own compared to everyone else entering bracket. And as a East Coast hosted tournament series, he very much had to make some sacrifices to be able to participate in our brackets that started at 8:30 p.m. EST. So he would be up at like 2 in the morning just to play the funny money game. And it wasn't a one-off thing. He stuck with us for a while before having to drop off between that and Magical Drop for a little bit. But it seems like he has become unretired in the past half year and made his way here. Also, plays Age of Empires 2. I don't know much about that, but you know what? If Flammable likes it, it's probably cool.
Age of Empires is a very fun game.
Understandable.
I
What
have more experience with 3 than 2, but they are very very entertaining real time strategy games.
what can you tell me about Lamwell?
Lamel has a pretty wide array of characters he likes to play, but they're generally from like upper mid, lower high tier to around mid tier. Um, but he's generally just got a very solid spread of characters. Moon is a signature pick of his. Um, the last member of the flat lines in the back of the board uh, crew, but the highest tier member of that crew has the same pressure shape as Hermit, who is a real killer, but with the straight flat lines, if you can manage the pattern really well, it's a little bit easier to deal with. There's more like tricks rather than just raw execution and perfect, like just being really good at juggling the orbs and rearranging them while making matches. It's got like there's like timing and it tests a slightly different skill set than those characters, and it's really interesting character to watch because it goes downhill really fast if you mess up.
Okay. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and queue up the last of winners round one. This is going to be Templonzo versus Lamble. Yeah, like maybe my bias is very much showing through, but like I want to see my money puzzles represent, you know?
Yeah, seeing Lamel win would be very exciting. In previous brackets, I believe I've taken games off of them, but they've really had a major like training arc activated,
Yeah.
major glow up as